Imagine a fearless human envoy stepping into an alien council hall filled with towering warriors and ancient traditions, only to spark a duel that could decide the fate of entire planets. What happens when courage, honor, and unexpected alliances collide in the vastness of space? If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and smash that thumbs up to support this channel. Now, let's dive into this incredible story that will keep you on the edge of your seat. In the vast expanse of the galaxy, the planet Zener stood as a shining beacon of diplomacy. Its crystal hall, a grand and sprawling chamber, stretched upward like a cathedral built by the stars themselves. Delegates from more than 100 different worlds gathered here, their varied forms and colors reflecting the diversity of the cosmos. The air was thick with strange scents, some pleasant, others sharp and unfamiliar. Soft sounds drifted through the hall, a mix of alien languages and ritual melodies designed to keep peace and order. It was a place where fragile alliances were tested, where words often weighed more heavily than weapons. In the center of this charged atmosphere stood General Thorin, leader of the Sorak. Towering over most others, Thorin was a fearsome sight. His muscular frame was covered in plated armor, each piece etched with symbols of past victories and tribal honor. His skin was dark and rough, and his sharp tusks twitched with tension. His eyes, glowing softly beneath a heavy brow, scanned the crowd with suspicion. To many, he was a symbol of power and pride, a man who commanded respect without raising his voice. Yet today, that respect seemed to hang by a thread. Then, without warning, a new figure entered the hall, a human named Jonas Carver. Unlike the many envoys clad in dazzling uniforms and armed with advanced technology, Jonas seemed almost out of place. He wore a simple, rumpled black suit with patches on the elbows and carried nothing more than a worn leather notebook under his arm. He didn't glide in on a shimmering hoverboard or teleport through the doors. He simply walked in, calm and steady. His quiet confidence unsettled many in the room. Whispers began to ripple through the crowd. "Is that really the human envoy?" one delegate asked. "He has no guards, no weapons, no devices to defend him." Others laughed quietly, doubting his seriousness. To them, humans were unpredictable creatures, more like animals dressed in strange clothes than true diplomats. Thorin's eyes narrowed as he watched Jonas move toward the center of the hall, his footsteps steady and sure. Jonas glanced up at the towering balcony that held the 412 delegates from 117 different star systems. His lips twitched into a small, amused smile. "No weapons? No rank insignia?" he muttered under his breath, loud enough for some nearby to hear. "Apologies, I got lost in your endless passages." The statement carried a tone of playful mockery, but there was no fear. Behind it, the delegates exchanged nervous glances. A serpentine creature with glittering scales hissed a sharp laugh. "Is this human truly serious?" it asked, eyeing Jonas like a curious but dangerous animal. Jonas simply raised an eyebrow and walked to his assigned seat, unfolding his notebook and humming quietly under his breath. It was an odd, haunting tune, one that seemed to unsettle some of the alien delegates. General Thorin stepped forward, his breath steaming through the secondary gills on his neck. "This is no way for diplomacy," he growled, his voice low and heavy like thunder rolling over steel. "We expect respect in this hall. Your arrival, human, is an insult to our traditions." Jonas smiled, not with friendliness, but with quiet certainty. "Respect is earned, General Thorin. I'm here not to insult, but to ask a simple question." He closed his notebook with a soft snap, the sound echoing in the tense room. "Is your pride worth more than the lives of your people?" The room fell silent. Delegates exchanged confused looks. Some leaned forward, curious despite themselves. Thorin's tusks twitched with irritation. "What question do you think you can ask that would justify such insolence?" he demanded. Jonas's eyes gleamed with a mixture of humor and challenge. "I've studied your people. I know your rituals, your postures of challenge. I know what you expect will come next." He paused, letting his words sink in. You will claim that I have insulted you by refusing your ceremonial broth. Then, you will demand satisfaction in a sacred duel. And finally, you will try to kill me. The hall buzzed with shock. How could this human be so bold? Thorin stepped closer, his armor plates clinking softly. You are right about one thing, he said. The duel will happen, I accept your challenge. Jonas nodded, calm and composed. So be it. But know this, General. My people have no fear of challenge and no desire for needless war. Let us see if your pride can survive what comes next. As the words hung in the air, the council's officiator, a slender figure wrapped in robes of deep blue and silver, stepped forward. By the laws of the council, she announced, a duel of honor is to be held. The matter is now before us. The crowd held its breath as Thorin began to remove his heavy armor. Beneath the plates, his skin was marked with ancient tattoos and scars, proof of countless battles fought and won. He was a warrior born, proud and unyielding. Jonas, in contrast, remained lightly dressed, his only armor the calm confidence in his eyes. The platform in the center of the hall began to rise, smooth and silent. The lights dimmed slightly as the delegates prepared to witness a duel that would either heal old wounds or ignite new wars. Jonas took a final sip from a thermos he pulled from under his coat, steadying himself. Thorin roared and launched the first attack, a whirlwind of speed and strength. Jonas dodged, barely, but took a heavy blow to his ribs. The chamber filled, with gasps and murmurs. The duel had begun, and with it, a story that would change the course of history. No one in the hall could guess what was coming next, not the sudden moves, the sharp words, or the unexpected twists. For in this game of honor and pride, it was not only strength that would be tested, but courage, wisdom, and the true meaning of peace. And so, the unexpected envoy arrived, shaking the foundations of the Intergalactic Council and setting the stage for a tale that would echo across the stars for generations to come. The grand hall of the Intergalactic Council held its breath as the platform fully rose, revealing the circular duel arena. Its smooth surface gleamed under the soft glow of the overhead lights, an unspoken promise that what was about to unfold would be unlike anything the delegates had ever witnessed. Jonas Carver stood steady on one side, his worn black suit contrasting sharply against the polished floor. Across from him, General Thorin's towering figure radiated power and menace, his muscles tensed beneath his ritual battle mail, the scars on his skin telling stories of countless fights. The council's officiator, a graceful figure wrapped in deep blue robes adorned with silver patterns, stepped forward. Her voice was clear and steady as she spoke the ancient rules. The duel is to be fought with honor and without delay. The combatants shall not use weapons beyond the ceremonial blades provided. Any breach of protocol will be noted and may lead to sanctions. This duel represents more than personal pride. It symbolizes the honor of entire worlds. Her words echoed in the chamber, stirring the delegates into a tense silence. Jonas nodded calmly, accepting the challenge without a hint of fear. His mind was sharp, already calculating every possible outcome, every move that Thorin might make. The human's eyes flicked to the ceremonial blade placed between them, an elegant weapon forged from a rare metal, shimmering faintly with a blue glow. It was lighter than any weapon Jonas had held before, but he trusted his agility and wits more than brute strength. Thorin's roar shattered the silence, and he lunged forward with terrifying speed. His first strike was a blur of power, a downward slash aimed to crush and overwhelm. Jonas barely dodged, feeling the rush of air as the blade sliced close to his shoulder. The impact sent a ripple through the crowd. Delegates gasped, some murmuring that Thorin's strength alone would win this duel quickly. Jonas stayed low, moving with careful precision. He wasn't a trained warrior, but he had learned to read people, to sense intentions and weaknesses. Thorin's attacks were fast but predictable, fueled by raw anger and pride. Jonas took a hit to the ribs but refused to fall. Instead of striking back, he used the blade's weight to deflect and slow Thorin's next attack, buying time. The audience leaned forward, caught between excitement and shock. Here was a human refusing to fight like a warrior, instead relying on cunning and endurance. Some delegates whispered their doubts. How could this fragile man possibly survive against such a giant? Then suddenly Jonas did something unexpected. He pulled out his leather-bound notebook and slammed it shut with a sharp snap. "General Thorin," he said clearly, his voice calm despite the pain, "you broke the sacred rules the moment you struck before the official declaration of combat. That was a violation of Subclause 58. The chamber erupted in confused whispers and shocked gasps. Thorin froze, his fierce glare locking onto Jonas with disbelief. "What trickery is this?" he growled, gripping his blade tighter. Jonas raised the notebook slightly, revealing a tiny red light blinking on its spine. "This," he said, "is a recording device. I am broadcasting this entire duel live to Earth's Emergency Intergalactic Command. The evidence of your unprovoked attack will not be ignored." The crowd was stunned into silence. A recording, in real time. Such technology was rare and often forbidden in these diplomatic settings. Thorin's jaw clenched as he realized his carefully planned challenge was now under the harsh light of scrutiny. Without warning, Thorin lunged again, a furious strike aimed to end the duel quickly. But Jonas had already vanished. The air shimmered, light flickering around him as he used a small, concealed device to teleport just out of reach. The sudden disappearance sent shockwaves through the room. Delegates gasped, some rising from their seats, eyes wide with disbelief. The council's alarms began to blare in dozens of languages, filling the chamber with urgent warnings. Red lights pulsed around the crystal walls, and the hum of the building's defense systems roared to life. Delegates screamed in panic, rushing to their communication devices. The sense of calm order was shattered. Amid the chaos, a voice echoed over the public address system, a cold, mechanical announcement that sent chills down everyone's spines. "Hades protocol activated. Planetary defense systems engaged." The words seemed out of place in a room designed for peace, yet the threat was clear and undeniable. The delegates scrambled, some trying to contact their homeworlds, others arguing over what the activation meant. But the truth was terrifying. Beneath the surface of the planet Xenor, buried deep under kilometers of rock and ice, lay Hades, humanity's ultimate safeguard. A doomsday weapon meant to protect Earth from extinction, triggered only in moments of absolute crisis. Back in the shadows, Jonas quietly prepared for what was coming next. His bold move to expose Thorin's violation was not just a gamble in a duel. It was a calculated step toward something greater. He knew the duel was a distraction from a larger threat lurking in the galaxy's depths. General Thorin's people were divided. Some saw Jonas as a traitor, disrespecting centuries of tradition. Others admired his courage and cunning. As the ground trembled beneath Xenor, alliances began to shift. The once unified council started to fracture, with members taking sides based on fear and uncertainty. Jonas sent encrypted messages to Earth, warning of forces beyond the council's knowledge, forces that could destroy entire systems if left unchecked. His calm demeanor masked the tension building inside him. He had walked into a storm much bigger than a duel. Meanwhile, the duel platform remained raised, empty and waiting, a symbol of interrupted honor. The council's officiator struggled to restore order, but the sense of impending disaster hung thick in the air. The delegates knew this was no longer a simple fight for pride. It was a battle for survival. In the shadows of the hall, a figure stepped forward, unnoticed by most, yet holding the weight of untold secrets. This person watched the unfolding chaos with quiet intent, ready to reveal truths that could change the galaxy forever. As the alarms continued to blare and the planet's surface flickered with warning lights, the duel that had begun as a test of honor transformed into a struggle that would decide the fate of countless worlds. Jonas and Thorin's challenge was just the beginning, a spark igniting a firestorm of intrigue, betrayal, and unexpected alliances. The story was far from over, and as the delegates braced for what was to come, the galaxy waited, holding its breath for the next move in this deadly game. Deep beneath the frozen surface of Earth, buried under layers of ice and rock, lay a secret facility known only to a select few, the Hades Command Center. This hidden stronghold was humanity's last line of defense, a place designed to activate only in the direst moments of existential threat. As the alarms sounded on the distant planet Xenor, signaling the start of an unprecedented conflict, the heart of Hades stirred to life. Inside the stark high-tech control room, Director Elena Moran stood silently before a large, glowing screen. The room was dimly lit, filled with consoles and monitors that displayed the status of Earth's defense networks. Elena was a woman in her late 40s, with sharp eyes that missed nothing and a calm presence that steadied even the most tense situations. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly, and her uniform bore the insignia of Earth's Emergency Intergalactic Command. The sudden activation of Hades was no mistake. Elena's fingers moved quickly across the control panel as she issued orders with precision. Initiate full power-up of the planetary shield array. Prepare the defense fleet for immediate deployment. Her voice was steady but carried the weight of urgency. Around her, technicians and officers worked with quiet efficiency, their faces tense but determined. Hades was never meant to be used lightly, Elena thought. It is the ultimate deterrent, a force so powerful that its mere presence can change the course of a war. The protocols were clear. Hades would only awaken when Earth's survival was on the line. Now, with the diplomatic crisis unfolding, millions of light-years away, that line had been crossed. Back on Xenor, the Intergalactic Council's chamber was a scene of chaos. The once orderly hall now echoed with the sounds of panic and confusion. Delegates shouted across the room, their faces pale as the red lights from the planet's defense systems cast eerie shadows. General Thorin stood amidst the turmoil, his usual fierce composure shaken. The activation of Hades had changed everything. Jonas Carver, the human envoy who had dared to challenge Thorin, was nowhere to be seen. His earlier bold move, exposing Thorin's breach of protocol during the duel, had sparked outrage, but now it seemed that a greater threat loomed over them all. Jonas's message to Earth had triggered the awakening of Hades, and the galaxy was about to feel the consequences. In the midst of the council, a group of delegates huddled together, debating their next move. If Hades is truly activated, one whispered, then Earth is no longer the weak, disorganized planet we thought. They have the power to defend themselves and maybe even to punish those who threaten them. Another delegate from a distant water world frowned. But at what cost? A weapon like that could destroy entire star systems. We must find a way to negotiate peace before it's too late. The tension was thick as political alliances began to shift. Some viewed Earth as a dangerous wildcard. Others saw hope in the strength it now displayed. Meanwhile, beneath the surface of the planet, Hades's vast network of defense satellites and unmanned warships began to activate. Silent sentinels rose from hidden bases, preparing to move at a moment's notice. Elena watched the feed closely, her mind racing with scenarios. The duel on Xenor had been a test, but the true test was now beginning. Would the galaxy accept the presence of this new power? Could old rivalries and grudges be set aside for the sake of survival? Suddenly, a new alert flashed on the main screen. A shadowy figure had appeared in the council chamber, stepping forward from the crowd. The delegates fell silent, eyes turning toward the newcomer. Elena recognized the significance of this moment. This was no ordinary delegate. The figure introduced herself as Selene Varys, a mediator from an ancient secret order known for resolving conflicts through wisdom and diplomacy. Her calm voice carried across the hall, bringing a hush to the chaos. The duel between General Thorin and Jonas Carver was not merely a clash of pride, she said. It was a challenge meant to reveal who among us is ready to lead the galaxy toward a new era. Selene's words carried weight. She explained that the ancient order had long watched over the council, guiding it through times of peace and war. The duel had been orchestrated to test the courage and character of those involved, and the awakening of Hades was the consequence of that test. The weapon beneath your feet, Selena continued, is a symbol of deterrence, not destruction. It exists to prevent war, not to wage it. We stand now at a crossroads. Will we choose unity or chaos? Her message struck a chord. The delegates began to murmur among themselves. the hope for peace stirring amidst the fear. Even Thorin lowered his gaze, the fire in his eyes dimming with understanding. Elena allowed herself a brief sigh of relief. The activation of Hades had sent a clear message, but it was the courage to seek peace that would determine the galaxy's future. She knew the coming days would be difficult, but the awakening of Hades was not the end. It was the beginning of a new chapter. As the red lights slowly faded from Xenar's skies and the alarms quieted, a fragile calm returned. The galaxy held its breath, watching as the players in this cosmic drama prepared for what lay ahead. In the silence that followed, hope flickered. The story of the duel, the challenge, and the awakening of Hades would be remembered not as a tale of destruction, but as a turning point. A moment when courage, wisdom, and the desire for peace overcame the shadows of war. And beneath the ice of Earth, the Hades Command Center stood ready, a silent guardian watching over humanity and the stars beyond. The great hall of the Intergalactic Council, once filled with chaos and fear, now held an unusual stillness. The red emergency lights that had blazed moments before had dimmed, leaving only soft glows from the crystal walls. Delegates from 100 worlds sat quietly, digesting the words of Selene Varys, the mysterious mediator who had stepped forward when the tension seemed unbearable. Her message had shaken them to the core. This was not just a duel of pride, but a test for the galaxy's future. General Thorin stood apart, his towering figure less threatening now. The sharp tusks that once twitched in anger were calm, his eyes reflecting a new understanding. He had faced Jonas Carver not just as an enemy, but as a catalyst for change. Jonas, the human envoy, had dared to challenge old ways with nothing but courage and a worn notebook. That courage had ignited a spark across the stars. Jonas reappeared in the hall, his limp from the duel barely noticeable as he walked steadily toward the center. The crowd watched in silence, some with respect, others still wary. He met Thorin's gaze and nodded, a silent truce passing between them. It was a moment that spoke louder than words. Selene stepped forward once again, her voice steady and clear. The duel was never meant to end in destruction. It was a way to show that the old rules need to be reconsidered. Honor is important, but so is survival. The galaxy must find a new path, one of cooperation, understanding, and shared strength. The 4 delegates murmured among themselves. For centuries, rivalry and suspicion had defined their relationships. Now a new possibility shimmered on the horizon, a chance to rewrite their history. In the days that followed, the council convened repeatedly, this time with a different tone. Discussions no longer centered on accusations or threats, but on rebuilding trust. The ancient rivalries that had divided star systems were slowly giving way to conversations about alliance and mutual respect. General Thorin took an active role in these talks, his voice commanding attention not through force but through sincerity. He spoke openly about his pride and mistakes, acknowledging that rigid traditions could no longer serve the galaxy in its current form. His transformation was a powerful symbol to many, a reminder that strength could be found in humility. Jonas became more than an envoy. He became a bridge between worlds. His simple approach and honest questions had cut through centuries of suspicion, inspiring others to see beyond differences. He worked tirelessly with Selene and other leaders to draft new agreements focused on peace and cooperation. Far below Earth's surface, the Hades Command Center remained alert, but now served a new purpose. No longer just a silent weapon of last resort, it became a symbol of deterrence, a guardian reminding all of the cost of war but also the hope for peace. Director Elena Morin oversaw this shift, her team ensuring that the facility's power was used wisely and transparently. News of the Council's renewed mission spread quickly across the galaxy. Worlds once isolated by fear and mistrust began to open their borders to dialogue and trade. Shared projects and cultural exchanges blossomed, creating bonds that had seemed impossible before. Yet the new era was not without challenges. Old enemies still lurked in the shadows, and not everyone welcomed change. But the story of the duel, the courage of Jonas, the honor of Thorin, and the wisdom of Selene reminded everyone that even the deepest wounds could heal with time and effort. As the stars twinkled outside the crystal hall's windows, a sense of hope filled the air. The galaxy was no longer a place where power ruled through fear. Instead, it was becoming a community united by the understanding that peace was the greatest strength of all. For the delegates, for the soldiers, and for the countless beings watching. From distant worlds, this new dawn of diplomacy was a chance to create stories of friendship, bravery, and endless possibilities. And as the Council prepared to face the future together, the memory of a duel that almost destroyed them all became a symbol, not of war, but of the power of courage, forgiveness, and the belief that even the most unexpected envoy could change the fate of the stars.